I would be willing to bet that I have had the worst 24 hours in the history of the human race. I haven't slept all night. I feel like crap. I'm exhausted. Everybody hates me. And I don't know what to do. Because I feel like I walked into something that I was not prepared for. I don't know whose burial ground I pissed on by accident, but if you're watching this, I'm sorry. Please forgive me and stop torturing me because I can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm going crazy. I feel like every day I have the new worst day of my life. And I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get upset. I promise. I'm just going to calmly explain what happened. So, I guess I have to start earlier. A little bit ago, I made a video about how I kissed my girlfriend's dad. That did happen. It's a really long story, and I honestly don't even feel like talking about the whole thing. I don't even know where to start. Basically, my girlfriend, her dad's name is Phil. Who the fuck? Why are there 10 people in this neighborhood working on their roofs at the same time? Every day I come out here, every time of day, every hour, there's 20 people who are working on something around their house. Shut up! I swear to God, suburbia is louder than the inner city. I can't get any peace and quiet. I have to shut my windows because otherwise you're going to hear people hammering and blowing leaf blowers and whacking weed whackers. And then I feel like I'm going to pass out because it gets so hot in here. Also, I can explain some stupid story. This is fucking bullshit. I'm so sick of this. Shut up! Your stupid roof looks like crap! It looks like every single other roof! I feel like I'm going crazy. I can't do this. Okay, so my girlfriend, I have actually known my girlfriend. This is Becca, by the way. For everybody who's kind of a recurring viewer, you will probably recognize that name because she's been quite the recurring character in my life, I must say. Becca is taking a little bit of a break from being non-binary right now, for a lot of reasons, and that's fine. Basically, she got fired from her job, and she had to move back in with her parents, kind of around the time that we started dating. Now, that was not initially a problem for me because I like her parents. Her parents and I get along very well, so I like to call myself the parent pleaser because in relationships, the other person's parents always end up liking me more than they like their own child. Me and Becca's parents always had a little inside joke where we said that we were going to take Becca out into the desert one night and tie her up and then leave her there and dump her on the side of the road. And then we were going to drive back and then we were going to put a little wig on me and pretend that I was Becca. So that's just a fun little, we were just being silly. But yeah, so basically I get along with her parents really well, and I honestly spend more time with them than my own family. I think that's kind of why it's become such an emotionally charged issue for everybody involved because it is. I don't remember what I was talking about because I have ADHD, and so when I hear the sound of somebody hammering a nail in, I immediately forget everything about who I am and everything I've ever done. I'm sorry. This wasn't supposed to be a yelling video. This was supposed to be me calmly explaining a story. And that's still what the video is going to be. Excuse me, I just want to make sure this is recording and I'm not doing all this for nothing. Hello? Okay. Oh, thank God, because I was probably about to... If that was not recording, then there would have... this would be in the news. I'd be in the news. And I still might be after... No, I'm sorry. I gotta be careful. I'm fine. Yay! I'm fine. Everything is great. Okay. So, Becca and I have known Becca's family for a very long time. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I've literally been on the sidewalk chain smoking all night. Because maybe I'm not allowed to say that, but I don't care. I'm sorry. I've had a shitty life and I can't do this anymore. I can't. Okay. All right. Anyway. Her family is very, very rich. The next time you're in your car, take a look at the window. Look at the bottom. See this little rubber flap right here? Her dad invented that. That's something called weather proofing, weather sealing, I think. Apparently, it's a very important invention because they are very, very rich. And they have a really nice place in Brentwood. So, I'm not saying that's the only reason why I go over there all the time, but it definitely helps. You know? Brentwood's a very nice part of LA. That's actually, fun fact, that's where... God. Oh my God. Please no. Please no. That's where OJ lived. So that's where his house was. And one time I said, do you want to watch the OJ documentary? And they literally went on a whole tear where they were like, we knew the second that we saw him in this neighborhood that he was trouble. And we tried calling the cops on him multiple times. They tried calling the cops on their own gardener once. And I tried to tell them, that's crazy. You can't do that. You're going to be on CNN as like the new Karen. Model Karen, you know. That didn't make any sense. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I say things that don't make any sense all the time. And okay, sorry. Me, everything's okay. Forget what I was talking about. Again. Crap! Everything's fine. Okay. Okay. So, cut! Every time, let me tell you something. Every time that I park my car, I have to get out a fucking ruler and check the slope of the street that I park on, because if I park uphill by even 2 centigrades, then the phone is going to keep falling over like this. But also, I have to park on this side of the street because I need to park under a tree. Because if I don't, then the sun will beat down into my car and it'll get 200 degrees in here and I'll die. Because I have to shut the windows because there's people working on all their houses everywhere around this neighborhood. And this is the only neighborhood where I could go film, because every other neighborhood, there aren't any trees. Because they don't plant trees in impoverished neighborhoods. They only plant them in really rich neighborhoods. So I have to find a really rich neighborhood to park my car under, Subaru Studios, so that I can film a video. And everybody looks at me like they're going to call the cops. Okay, I'm sorry. There's somebody coming, isn't there? I bet he's going to say, hey, are you okay? Do you need any help? Okay, thank God. Look at that goober. This is the type of person that lives all around here. And now I'm going to get so hopelessly... I bet I'm never going to get through this story. I don't remember even what the story is. Okay, I think it was about me effing my dad. Oh! Freudian slip. Effing my girlfriend's dad, excuse me. That has never happened. Okay? I promise. Okay. So I have been very close with Becca's parents for a very long time, ever since we met. We actually met when I first moved to LA in 2020. I went to a party, a huge party. This was during the pandemic. And I remember she was literally more drunk than I have ever seen anyone in my entire life. And I remember literally I went up to her and I said, "Hi, I don't know you. I'm literally only coming to talk to you to do you a favor. You are embarrassing yourself, and it is pathetic. Everybody here is sick to their stomach because watching you is making them feel so bad for you. That is making everybody want to puke. So you need to get your shit together and figure it out. Figure out your life." And that sort of got the ball rolling. We ended up, that night, which was really nice. And we started dating because, we sort of got along together. I think that for better or worse, Becca and I, when I say that Becca and I have been through a lot together, that is not an exaggeration. I have to say that me, I don't even know what word I'm allowed to say for this in a YouTube video, because we live in a puritanical society where I can't even refer to the act of lovemaking. Otherwise, I'm going to get demonetized. Love is a beautiful thing. It's not obscene. Okay. Basically, me and Becca have been through a lot together, and so I think that this latest thing, I'm hoping, will just be another bump in the road. It's definitely the biggest bump in the road by far. And that's saying a lot, because there have been a lot of very, 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 very big bumps. Okay. So, we started dating, blah, blah, blah. A lot of stuff happened in that couple of years. I've made some videos about some of those bumps in the road that nobody gave a shit about. So it's getting hot in here. It's always getting hot in here. Hammering away over there. Aren't we all? Aren't we all just hammering away every single day of our lives for no reason? For no reason. We're all just getting our roofs done for no reason at all. So, basically, I have really for a long time been I can't afford a yard out here in Southern California, and I don't think I ever will be able to, ever. So Phil has been very kindly I tried to get him on an anti-lawn kick, because I'm sort of an anti-lawn, extremist. I'm really all about ripping out your lawn, planting natives, planting pollinators, and making sure that your little slice of the ecosystem is beneficial to the environment, especially out here in California. These morons. Let's just see on this street who has grass. Okay, that house doesn't. That's good. Looks like they don't. Most of the time in affluent neighborhoods, people are actually pretty good about this. But most of the time when you drive, all right. So in a neighborhood where, let's say, most people make 100 to 200,000 a year, maybe 100 to 500,000, people are very good about having lawns like this. But if you go higher than that and you get to really, really richy, where they don't give a shit about, obviously those people are still rich, but like people who are so rich, they just don't give a shit about anything, then they are literally using up more water than 20 almond farms, because they have all ornamental crap that is so dumb and looks like shit. It looks like shit! Anyway, so I've really been trying to get Phil to go on this kick of, okay, so this is going to probably be a very, no, all right, okay, all right, okay, back to the story. Talk about one thing and then continue talking about it and finish talking about it and don't talk about anything else. Straight line like this. That's going to be the conversation. Beep. Okay. So, long story short, because if I try to explain the whole process of solarizing your lawn, I'm going to look at that stupid audience retention graph YouTube gives me, and I'm going to see it go. I can't take that today. I cannot take that today. So we have been, look up solarization if you want to know about it. It's very important. We've been solarizing Phil's lawn, which basically means we're putting tarps over it to kill all everything that lives there, the grasses that are native, because if you don't do that and you just dig up the dirt, then it's going to dig up also all the weeds and the invasive plant spores that are in the dirt, because they're in the dirt. So if you dig it all up, there's going to be more invasive plants, and it's not going to work. And if people always try to just dig up their lawn and plant native plants, and they're like, why isn't it working? It's because the invasives are in the dirt. Okay. So you got to solarize it, which means you cover it with tarps, wait for the sun to kill everything, and then it's okay. Don't disturb the dirt. And don't do one of those stupid landscaping fabrics. That does not do anything but make a mess for the next person who moves in, who has to clean up your shit. Okay, so anyway, I've been helping Phil do that because I really like gardening and doing yard work. And one night we were with her family all sort of out by their little fire pit. And we did something called the Kinsey scale test, which is a very outdated test that I am not endorsing. We just did it as a fun little thing. It was Becca's idea anyway, so cancel her. But it's basically a test that I think they made in the 40s where you can take it and it ranks your hetero to homosexuality on a scale of 0 to 6. Obviously, it doesn't work like that. But it's just a fun little thing. So we all went around and took it. Me, her mom, her dad. I got a 3. Funny enough, Becca got a 1 and then retook it and got a 6. So, and then Becca's dad got a 2. So we were all like, oh, kind of making fun of him. He was like, he got all gruff and then grumbly and went back in the house. And we were like, oh. So the next day, I was out helping him with the yard work, and he was asking me a bunch of questions about, because he's... He was asking me a bunch of... Because I sort of have talked about being... when we took this test, I talked about being bisexual. And he was like, okay. Because I think the thing that with people like that in their age bracket, who are maybe a hair younger than boomers, is that I honestly think the vast majority... Maybe this is my naivete showing, but I honestly think that the vast majority of human beings are more open-minded than one would think, and it's just because the corporate media interests and all of this other stuff, corporate greed, political crap, all of this. Well, really, I guess it's mostly media. How the media intercepts our community connections and poisons them and messes them all up. They get all afraid. And so we don't have community connections, so we don't have the ability to understand other people's perspectives anymore as a collective. So because of that, we do not have empathy for other lifestyles, right? Because we don't, it's all messed up. I'm not explaining this right, but hopefully you know what I mean. So I think that if I explain myself to her parents, they're going to understand, but a lot of times they're just like, anyway, if they're watching Fox News, then of course they're not going to, it's poisoning their mind. Anyway, why was I talking about that? Oh yeah. So the next day in the yard, we were doing yard work, me and Phil, and we were talking about, sort of that sort of thing, and he was saying, one time Phil did karaoke where he dressed as Britney Spears, and he put a wig on, and he put lipstick on, and he did the whole 9 yards. And I swear to God, he brings it up every single time that I am over there. Every single time. And I am always like, yeah, that was a funny story, But I brought that up to him and I said, have you ever thought about maybe, do you feel like a man? And I wasn't saying that like, are you a big man? You know what I mean? I was just saying, do you feel like a man? And he said, yeah, I guess, was sort of what he said. And I was like, well, I just feel like, I think that, it's not really that, I don't know. I mean, and then he said, well, I don't know. I mean, and then I brought up the Britney Spears thing. And then I said, okay, so take a look at this person. One time, this is another Phil story. He saw somebody on a motorcycle who he thought was a woman. Because the person's legs were out and they were shaved. And he was like, oh, look at the rump on that one. And then he was like, oh, because I guess he thought. And I said, well, wait a minute. Hold on, Phil. Well, let me ask you a question. I'm just asking a question. What other piece of information that you perceived now has made you decide, you know what? Maybe this is just not even a good idea to talk about at all. I feel like I'm going down. I'm having the worst day of my life. And I'm also spitballing about gender theory, which is probably a bad combination. So I'm going to put the brakes on this and we're going to skip ahead to when I kissed him. Basically, Phil and I had our hands in the dirt like this. And we sort of got closer and closer and closer. And I was like, what would be funny is if it seems like we're about to kiss right now. Wouldn't that be funny? And I was sort of joking. I don't know. I was kind of joking. And he said, Dan, you're crazy. You're a crazy boy. And I said, oh yeah, I sure am. And it was one of those things where, like how you sort of just, you have an out-of-body experience and then all of a sudden something happens, and you're like watching your body do something. It's getting so hot in here. So hot in here. Basically, I was sort of, the rest happened very, very quickly. So Phil and I kissed then. It was very short. And the funny thing is that I think, honestly, if you put a blindfold on me, then I wouldn't have been able to tell who was Becca or her dad, honestly. And that's nothing against any of them. It's just, I don't know. So, Phil then kind of ghosted me and didn't talk to me for a long time. We did not talk about it at all. And I sort of was like, okay, well, I guess that was just a weird thing that we're eventually going to pretend never happened, like I said in the other video, and then we'll move on. It'll be fine. And then the day that I made that video about what was it called? I kissed my girlfriend's dad or something, and it was good. I think because that was just sort of, I don't necessarily want to get into all this old stuff about my inner, I feel like I shouldn't talk about that too much, but I would say that it was weird, but also it was, okay, here's how I'll put it. For me, kissing Becca is like Christmas morning. It's like a margarita. How about that? Kissing Becca is like drinking a margarita. And kissing her dad was like having a Thanksgiving turkey. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And that probably, I don't know. That's really the only way I can describe it. It's not like one is better than the other. It's just different. So basically, I figured whatever, we'll just forget about it, And then that day that I made that video, I had to go over Becca's house again in Brentwood because we had plans to go over there, and I was really nervous about it because I hadn't been over there since the kissing incident. So I thought that if I made a video and I sort of just got it off my chest, that I would feel better about it. And that did not happen, because I don't want to, I don't want to say screw all of you, but sort of what kind of contributed to that was because I was hoping that when I posted that video, everybody was going to say, well, this is weird and this is wrong and you shouldn't do this. So that I would be like, oh, you're right, I shouldn't do this. And that would make me feel better, because I would shut it down in my brain. But instead, I guess I should be very grateful that I have a lot of supportive followers, because everybody was like, oh, this is so great. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. Good luck with Phil, Dan. And I was like, because then that just sort of reinforced in my head that it was a good idea, So anyway, I guess I should be grateful, but still. I just want people to tell me like it is, because I read all this stuff online about how, oh, I'm a terrible person, I'm a piece of shit. He's a sociopath, he's manipulative, he's abusive, and I read all that and I'm like, what? I think I'm a nice guy. I think I'm a good person. So I don't understand where all that's coming from. So I want to make sure that people are putting me in my place and they're holding me accountable, because maybe you've noticed in the last few videos, I've really been trying to be a good person, a better person, So anyway, just to have, I would ask that people be real with me, hold me accountable, That's all I want. So I went over there, and unfortunately, Becca and her mom could kind of, so I went over there and Phil was not there. And they said, oh, he had to work on a Sunday, which I was like, okay, maybe. They are rich, so they're weird, so maybe they do stuff like that. And I was having dinner with Becca and her mom, and they could tell that something was wrong with me. And I was trying to pull the whole, no, it's fine, I'm fine. But nobody's buying that load of crap, I mean, I'm almost 30, so nobody's buying that from me anymore. I'm 28. Age reveal! I'm 28 years old, and this is my life. This is what I do. You don't have to make fun of me, because I already make fun of myself every single fucking day. I'm too far into this story. I have to finish it. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything anymore. Okay, get it together. So, Becca's mom left to go somewhere. But I think that she was kind of sort of trying to give us space, so that we could talk about something, because everybody could tell that something was wrong. And Becca sort of interrogated me, and I was like, nothing's wrong, blah, 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 blah. She wasn't buying it. So she did that thing where she's figured out that the way to get me to, because I do that all the time, where I'm like, never mind, I don't want to talk about it, blah, blah, blah. And she's figured out the way to get me to say what it is to assume that it's something that is worse. So she'll be like, oh, so you're cheating on me, or something like that. And then I'll have to be like, no, it's not. She'll take the information that I'm giving her, like, you didn't respond to me all day, blah, blah, you didn't do all this. And then she will sort of make a narrative in her head about it that's worse than what it actually is. And then the only way that I can refute it then is to tell her what's actually going on, because otherwise she'll think it's the worst thing. And then why wouldn't she? Because it makes sense with everything. Anyway, so she was like, oh, so you're cheating on me. And I was like, well, and that was a mistake. I shouldn't have said, because I was kind of like, and I didn't really know how to answer that. She started freaking out. And so I was like, okay, listen. Your dad and I had a very weird moment the other day in the yard. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I said, we had a very, very brief, I didn't even know how to say it. I don't know how to say it right now. We kissed. It sounds crazy to say, but that's what happened. And she was like, at first, she was like, please tell me you're joking. She clearly didn't think it was a joke. And then I heard her mom say, what? From in the background. And I heard the sound of a toilet flushing. So I was like, oh my God. You know, she was in there the whole time. We gotta put a bell around your neck, sister. But she came out, and honestly, I think maybe this has happened before with him. I think maybe something happened in the family. I don't know. The reason I'm saying that, I don't want to make any assumptions, but the way that everybody reacted to that information it did not seem like her dad had never ever done anything like this, and then all of a sudden I was saying that it had happened. You know, I was thinking that they were literally going to laugh, or they were going to, the way that Becca said, are you joking, was more like, I cannot believe this, please no, as opposed to like, I actually think you're joking, if that makes sense. So anyway, Becca basically started, she does this thing all the time where she will bang her head on the fireplace over and over again. And so I was like, oh, no, don't do that. And then all of a sudden now that becomes the whole focal point of everything. And I honestly, we had to do I think it's called a 5150 involuntary psych hold again. That's why I'm sort of nonplussed, because that happens all the time. Unfortunately, Becca's has a lot of problems. It's a sad thing. So do I. We all got problems in this world. I'm so exhausted. I feel like crap. So, am I still recording? Let me just check and make sure I'm still recording. Hello? My name's Dan. Okay. All right. Okay. So, yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm going to bounce, because Becca basically was she was saying a lot of things, but among them were, don't ever talk to me again. I don't want to talk to you. Leave. Get out of my face. Get out of my life. Get out of my house. I was like, first off, it's your parents' house, sweetie. But okay. I didn't say that. Exactly. So I left like a good boy, and Phil and I had texted a bit, you know. We hadn't texted since I had sent him a few texts since the yard incident, but he hadn't texted me back. So I basically texted him, and I said, I told him what happened. I said, I'm sure you'll hear about this from them, but basically I did tell them about what happened in the yard. I'm sorry. But it did happen, and so I feel like because it happened to me, I have a right to tell people about my side of it, you know. And you have to own up to your blah, blah, blah. I was a little upset. And also, I was accepting the fact that, okay, so does this now make it, like, so now he's my ex-girlfriend's dad? It's kind of like I said in the other video. It's like, okay, now not like we're going to date now, you know? So, but to my surprise, Phil did call me, and he was like, what are you talking about? What's going on? Because he said now Sarah, which is Becca's mother, Sarah won't answer me either. Nobody in the family will answer me, but you. And so I explained a little bit in more detail what happened. Becca had a breakdown, you know, and now that I think she's in wherever they took her. I don't know. So they're probably dealing with that right now. And I was sort of, I think, part of me was, I was amped up, I will admit, but I was also, I think, I was sort of like, well, I would be easier to explain this in person, because I hate phone calls. I'm not very good over the phone. So I was like, it would be easier to explain this in person. So they have a, like, I guess it's sort of an office building that does have a living space above it. So he said, all right, well, come out to Van Nuys and you know, we'll talk about it. That's part of LA. But it's very far, so I had to get on the 405 in rush hour traffic, which was terrible. And I got there, and it was a whole different tenor, because I think that Phil sort of was realizing that basically his entire life had just fallen apart, basically, and I was the only thing that he had still. And also kind of my entire life has just fallen apart too. I mean, I had been spent, I used to do this thing too where why is it a problem if I've been dating someone for 2 years? Why would I not put emotional stock in, why would I not invest in them in my life? So it was just, and there's not really much to say about this part. Basically, I think that it clearly was not the first time that he had done this, so we'll leave it at that. I think I answered my own question. That's from my side of the story. That's what I'm assuming. So, and then afterwards, I checked my phone a bunch, and I saw Becca kind of tried to call me over and over again, but I didn't answer it. And I left there around 2 a.m. I didn't know what the hell to do, so I was just driving around LA like Ryan Gosling in the movie Drive. That's a great movie. Nicholas Winding Refn, it's always hit or miss for me. Yeah, but I guess I'll go, I don't know, do you ever just not sleep, and then you're like, well, now what am I going to do? Go to home, I'm not going to be able to sleep now, it's almost noon. But it did feel kind of better. I do feel better talking about it, because nobody else in my actual life will listen to any of this. They don't want to hear about any of this. So, appreciate that everybody will listen to me.